Good morning, dear students. We are going to discuss deep cervical fascia. So, what is fascia? Fascia is nothing but a fibrous connective tissue which binds together various structures of the body. So, always when we have seen till now, we have done with upper limb, lower limb, and thorax. So, we know like basically fascia, we will be discussing under two headings, that is superficial fascia and deep fascia. So superficial fascia is subcutaneous, present just below the skin, and deep fascia is present around muscles, blood vessels, and organs of the body. Now see here, when you do the dissection of head and neck region, we will come across, like when we just reflect the skin, so we will see like there will be a fascia, that will be the superficial fascia. Okay, so then we will have this fascia. Just below superficial fascia, you have a subcutaneous muscle which is called as platysma. Okay, then below this platysma, you will find throughout the neck, there will be a complete covering which is called as the investing layer of deep cervical fascia. That means this is the fascia which completely surrounds the neck like a collar. You are finding underlying muscles are there and this shiny fascia is covering the muscles. Hence the muscles are not clearly visible. So that means there is a fascia which is completely enclosing the muscles. So that is the investing layer of deep cervical fascia. So see here, this is the neck region and you are finding this is the investing layer. Okay. So which will be seen now. One side the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia is shown and the other side the fascia is cut and it is cleared so that you are seeing the underlying muscles. Okay. So we have investing layer and we have many other layers of deep cervical fascia. Okay. Now, so the deep cervical fascia is the fascia which is around the neck and it is known as deep cervical fascia, also called as fascia colli, as it forms a collar around the neck. Hence, it is called as fascia colli. It lies deep to platysma muscle in the interval between muscles, vessels, and organs of the cervical region. It gives various extensions or laminae around various structures in the neck. We will see. Now, this is the transverse section of the neck. That section which has been taken at the level of like the cervical vertebra. Okay. For example, it is the fourth cervical vertebra. Now you can see here, like what are the various structures we find in the neck. Let's get oriented with this picture. So the outermost covering what we see in the neck region completely is the investing layer of deep cervical fascia. This is one of the cervical vertebra what you are seeing, and this is the cervical canal, you know. Like in the neck, we have two tubes, isn't it, in our neck? We are drinking and we are eating, which is passing through the esophagus. We are taking air, which is passing through trachea. That means what? We have two tubes for air and food, that is trachea and esophagus. Right in front of the trachea, we have a gland that is the thyroid gland. On either side of the thyroid gland, we will have big blood vessels. Okay, so I'm just giving you the orientation. Okay, now in front of this thyroid gland, we will come across four muscles on right side and four muscles on left side. Let us name these muscles. So we have sternothyroid, sternohyoid, omohyoid, and sternocleidomastoid. Okay, these are the muscles which I have shown you when I was discussing hyoid bone. Okay, so then now see here, right in front of the vertebra also we have muscles which are called as prevertebral muscles. Okay, of course. Now let us see what are the various fascia we see in the neck. One fascia which I said which is completely covering the neck like a collar throughout, you call it as investing layer. Apart from that, surrounding the thyroid gland also there is one green fascia which is shown here, which is called as pretracheal layer of deep cervical fascia. So we are finding investing layer, we are finding pretracheal layer. In front of the vertebral column, we have one fascia which is called as prevertebral fascia. Surrounding the great vessels of the neck, there is one fascia which is called as carotid sheath. Carotid sheath. Apart from that, we also have buccopharyngeal and pharyngobasilar fascia also. So this is horizontal disposition. That means we have cut the body in horizontal direction. Then we have vertical disposition. This is the sagittal section. Now see here, what are the various fascias? First fascia you are finding right in front of the neck. That is the investing layer. Okay, which is splitting in like above the sternum to enclose suprasternal space. This is the suprasternal space. The investing layer is splitting and enclosing the space. Okay, then in front of the thyroid gland, I said there is one fascia. What is that? Pretracheal fascia. Basically, pretracheal fascia is starting from the So you are finding this is the vertical disposition, and this pretracheal fascia is actually extending from the hyoid bone, moving in front of the laryngeal cartilages, splitting to enclose thyroid gland, and it becomes continuous with the fibrous pericardium of the heart. So this second layer is pretracheal fascia. This is the vertebral column. We are finding the cervical vertebrae. Okay, and then in the thorax we have thoracic vertebrae, and this green line which has actually started from the base of the skull bone. So this complete green line which is seen in front of the vertebral column, you call it as prevertebral fascia. Prevertebral fascia. Okay, so investing layer will be surrounding all around the neck like a collar. That's the reason it is shown from the front. It is also shown from behind. Okay. So this is vertical disposition. Now see here, investing layer actually splits in the face to enclose parotid gland. So the layers of this investing layer in the face are superficial layer which goes and attaches to the zygomatic arch, deep layer which goes and attaches to the tympanic plate of the external acoustic meatus. So the name of this structure is actually the thickening of the deep lamina of the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia behind the parotid gland. It is called as stylomandibular ligament. So we have investing layer splitting to enclose parotid gland, superficial layer and the deep layer. Superficial layer is called parotidomasseteric fascia. Deep layer is called stylomandibular ligament. Okay, then here also the similar picture is shown. We have superficial, not only that, it is also splitting to enclose submandibular gland, where also we have superficial layer and deep layer. That means this fascia will be splitting to enclose the like glands. Okay, then so we have one more picture where you can see this actually clavipectoral fascia we have seen in the pectoral region just below the pectoralis major, where I told you it was splitting to enclose the subclavius. Okay, so the same layers, if you trace it upwards in the neck region, it forms the investing layer of deep cervical fascia. Okay, this is the investing layer. So that is you are finding the continuation. Now see here, next thing you are finding the pretracheal layer. This picture actually shows us the pretracheal layer because you are finding it is splitting to enclose the thyroid gland. So it comes, the superior attachment of pretracheal fascia is hyoid bone. It is running in front of the laryngeal cartilages. What are those? Thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage. Okay, then these are the tracheal rings. So this pretracheal fascia is splitting to enclose the thyroid gland, so which forms the false capsule of the thyroid gland. Then the split ends will meet back at the lower end of the thyroid gland, and this single layer of pretracheal fascia will go and fuse with the fibrous pericardium. Okay, then this is the vertebral column. Like we have the cervical vertebra. So right in front of the cervical vertebra, so you are finding there is one fascia, that is the prevertebral fascia. Okay, so this is pharynx. Okay, so in front of the pharynx there is one fascia, you call it as buccopharyngeal fascia. Buccopharyngeal fascia. Okay, around the big vessels of the neck we have carotid sheath. So what are the big vessels of the neck we have? See, medially, like we have common carotid artery, we have internal jugular vein. So anterior, this is vertical disposition and this is transverse disposition. So in vertical disposition, you are finding the internal jugular vein, common carotid artery which will divide into external and internal carotid artery. Between these two structures, vagus is running. Similarly, here also you are finding common carotid artery, internal jugular vein. In between, vagus is shown. Anterior wall of the carotid sheath is ansa cervicalis. Behind we have sympathetic chain. Okay, then cervical fascia. So like when we talk about the investing layer, it has certain layers like superficial layer. See, I will take you back to the good picture which will help you understand more better. See here, this is, I told you, completely enclosing the neck like a collar is investing layer. So this investing layer is splitting to enclose sternocleidomastoid muscle. Right and left sternocleidomastoid. Posteriorly also it is splitting to enclose trapezius. Okay, that is. So cervical fascia, like superficial investing layer, encloses trapezius behind. Okay, and anteriorly it is splitting to enclose sternocleidomastoid. Okay, we will also see it is enclosing like posterior belly of digastric parotid gland and submandibular gland, which I have shown you. So I told you superficial layer, it is splitting to enclose these two glands, parotid and the submandibular gland. Okay, then attached to bony landmarks of the upper and lower boundaries of the neck and zygomatic arch of the face attachments. Now see, this is the like platysma muscle, below which whatever fascia we are finding, that is the investing layer. This investing layer actually splits to enclose this muscle. What is this muscle? Sternocleidomastoid. Here also you can see this is sternocleidomastoid muscle. Okay. So generally, overall, if you take the list of deep cervical fascia, the list is, we have investing layer, pretracheal layer, in front of the vertebra, we have prevertebral layer, surrounding the great vessels of the neck, we have carotid sheath, in front of the pharynx, we have buccopharyngeal fascia, we have temporal fascia and pharyngobasilar fascia. Okay. So when you talk about investing layer, it is the layer which is surrounding the neck like a collar. It is splitting to enclose two muscles. Anteriorly, it is splitting to enclose sternocleidomastoid. Posteriorly, it is splitting to enclose trapezius. Okay. Then we have prevertebral layer, which is shown in violet color here. That is the, sorry, pretracheal layer is shown in violet color. So pretracheal layer surrounds the trachea and esophagus, and also it is splitting to enclose the thyroid gland, forming its false capsule. Okay. Then so that is continues into the mediastinum. Then we have prevertebral layer like this ink blue color, whatever has been shown, that is prevertebral layer. It surrounds the vertebral column and it surrounds the muscles of the back of the neck. Okay, so prevertebral muscles and also lateral vertebral muscles and suboccipital muscles all are enclosed by this ink blue like colored fascia. For our convenience, I have used this color, that is prevertebral layer. Then surrounding the great vessels of the neck, what do we have? Carotid sheath, which surrounds the common carotid artery medially, internal jugular vein laterally, and in between we have other structures also like vagus. Okay. Then retropharyngeal space. What do you mean by this? Behind the pharynx, the empty like space is actually called as retropharyngeal space, which is between the pretracheal and prevertebral layers. So infection from head can spread to mediastinum. I'll show you. See, the various fascias are shown in a different way to make our understanding better. So outermost covering, you call it as investing layer. In front of the trachea, we have pretracheal layer. Surrounding the great vessels of the neck, we have carotid sheath. Surrounding the back muscles, we have prevertebral layer of deep cervical fascia. Now coming to the investing layer, so in like overall deep cervical fascia can be an essay question. Any of these fascias can come as 5 marks or 3 marks questions as well. So when you talk about investing layer, superiorly it is attached to the external occipital protuberance. You feel on your own body. We have explained all these bony landmarks. Okay, above external occipital protuberance, mastoid process, external occipital, external acoustic meatus and base of the mandible above. Below, spine of the scapula, acromion process, clavicle and manubrium sterni. Okay, in the front it is attached to hyoid bone, continuous with the fascia of the opposite side. Behind it is attached to the seventh cervical vertebra and ligamentum nuchae. Okay, so this is all like tracing from above, below, front and behind. Then we have vertical tracing. We know it is splitting to enclose two glands. What are those? One is the parotid gland and the other is submandibular gland. Then I have also shown you in one of our pictures, like it is splitting right in front, like above the like manubrium of the sternum to enclose a space called as suprasternal space. Okay, above the clavicle also it encloses a space called as supraclavicular space. And in front of the parotid gland, it forms a thickening called as parotidomasseteric fascia. Okay, behind it forms a thickening called as stylomandibular ligament. Okay, so this is vertical tracing. So horizontal tracing, it encloses two muscles. What are those? That is the sternocleidomastoid anteriorly and trapezius posteriorly. And in between, actually it forms an intermediate pulley of digastric and omohyoid muscles. So this investing layer forms the roof of certain triangles of neck, that is anterior and posterior triangles. It gives two laminae for pretracheal and prevertebral fasciae. Okay. So this is all investing layer which is seen all around surrounding like a collar. It is enclosing the parotid and submandibular salivary gland. Here it splits to enclose the suprasternal space. Here it splits to enclose the supraclavicular face. Over the parotid gland, it forms a thickening parotidomasseteric fascia. Behind the parotid gland, it forms the thickening that is stylomandibular ligament. Okay, you can see this is our investing layer. This is the manubrium of the sternum. It is splitting here to enclose the space, that is the suprasternal space of Burns. Okay, so like here in this now, suprasternal space is enclosing certain important structures. What are those? This may be a 3 marks question. What do we find in the suprasternal space? So, suprasternal space is also called as space of Burns. The contents are connecting right and left clavicle. We have interclavicular ligament. We have sternocleidomastoid muscle origin, sternal head. We will find this arch, that is the jugular venous arch. This is the sternocleidomastoid muscle. We will find loose areolar tissue. So this list is very, very important because it is a 3 marks question. Okay. So suprasternal space, also called as space of Burns. How is it formed? By splitting of investing layer. So it contains all these structures. Pause the video and read the things. You can see here, see this is the manubrium of the sternum and this is the sternocleidomastoid muscle, this is the clavicle. Here we have the suprasternal space, it is containing the sternal head of the sternocleidomastoid, jugular venous arch, and connecting the two clavicles we have interclavicular ligament and lot of loose areolar tissue. Okay, so here the list you have and I've tried to show you with the help of this picture. Okay, so supraclavicular space, that means above the clavicle. Again, investing layer splits to enclose the space that is called as supraclavicular space. Okay, it is formed by splitting of the investing layer of deep cervical fascia at middle third of the clavicle. It gets attached to anterior and posterior border of upper surface of clavicle. It encloses a space called as supraclavicular space. So we see here supraclavicular nerves and external jugular vein. Okay. Now let us see the clinical anatomy. Because of the presence of thick, tough parotidomasseteric fascia which covers the parotid gland, swelling of parotid glands are very painful. Because if there is mumps infection in the parotid gland and the parotid gland is swelling, because the tight attachment of parotidomasseteric fascia, patient will have lot of pain. Okay, so this is the parotid gland over here and parotidomasseteric fascia is very tightly attached to the anterior lamina, anterior layer of the parotid area. So if there is any infection, So because of this swelling, it cannot expand, because of which you will see lot of pain will be there. So that is most common cause is bacterial infection or retrograde infection can come from oral cavity. Patient usually presents with high fever, weakness. There will be swelling and tenderness of the parotid gland. Tenderness in the sense pain on touch of this area. That's what is tenderness. There may be fluctuation. That means when you just touch it and see, you will see pus will be moving under your fingers, especially extensens duct. This we will teach you when we do parotid gland. Now, once you are done with investing layer, let us talk about pretracheal layer. So, what is the pretracheal layer? I said it is moving from the hyoid bone. It is splitting to enclose thyroid gland. It is continuing its journey down to become continuous with the fibrous pericardium of the heart, isn't it? So, this is also one of the lamina of deep cervical fascia that arises deep to sternocleidomastoid muscle. So this deep pretracheal fascia is arising deep to sternocleidomastoid muscle. Horizontally, the fascia encloses the thyroid gland and then becomes continuous with the fascia of opposite side. Vertically, the fascia is attached superiorly to hyoid bone, then it runs downwards, splits to enclose the thyroid gland, then again runs downwards and finally gets attached to pericardium of the heart, isn't it? So this is our like vertical tracing. Okay, it comes down, it splits to enclose the thyroid gland, then joins back and then becomes continuous with the fibrous pericardium of the heart. Okay, so pretracheal space. What is this pretracheal space? Lies between pretracheal layer and cervical part of the trachea. This space. Okay, it contains arteries like thyroidea, ima artery, inferior thyroid vein. This is our inferior thyroid vein. Unpaired thyroid venous plexuses. Okay, brachiocephalic trunk and left brachiocephalic vein. Okay. This is the brachiocephalic trunk we have. This is right and this is left brachiocephalic vein. Right and left brachiocephalic veins will join to form superior vena cava. This is internal jugular vein. This is subclavian vein. Internal jugular and subclavian will join to form the brachiocephalic veins. Okay. So you are finding the investing layer. If you clear this underlying small area of thyroid gland is visible. Okay, small fascia is visible over here. Okay. So overall, that is all about pretracheal fascia. The fascia forms outer false capsule of thyroid gland, posterior part of which is thin and not well defined. Hence, thyroid swellings grow posteriorly. They don't have chance to grow anteriorly. And it may compress the esophagus, causing difficulty in swallowing, that is dysphagia. Thyroid gland moves with swallowing. Swallowing mechanism is called deglutition. As the posterior aspect of the gland is attached to cricoid cartilage by a thickening of pretracheal fascia known as ligament of Berry or suspensory ligament of thyroid gland. This we will show you again when we discuss thyroid gland. During thyroid surgery, the ligament of Berry has to be cut to mobilize the thyroid gland. Enlargement of thyroid gland leads to embarrassment of the heart as the lower extension of pretracheal fascia is pericardium. Okay, we know like it is going and it is like converging with the like fibrous layer of pericardium, which leads to traction of the fascia due the thyroid swelling. Then continuity of pretracheal fascia with mediastinum, I will show you this, leads to spread of infection to mediastinum from head and neck and vice versa. Then pretracheal fascia provides a free slippery base for the movement of trachea during swallowing. See here, like I told you, like this is all suppose the area of the pretracheal layer, it is in continuation with mediastinum. So if there is any infection in mediastinum, it can spread to head and neck. And if there is any infection in head and neck, it can spread to mediastinum because of the presence of this pretracheal layer. This is much more one more picture we have. Yeah, this one. See this, you can see the continuation of the pretracheal fascia. It is splitting to enclose the thyroid gland. It is becoming continuous with fibrous pericardium. This line, red line, is neck, head and neck region. And this line below is thoracic vertebrae have started. T1, T2, T3, T4. That means this is superior mediastinum. So because this pretracheal fascia is continuous, infections of the mediastinum can go into head and neck. Infections from head and neck can come into the mediastinum. Okay, that is the clinical aspect which you should understand. Then after this, we will move to prevertebral fascia. What did I say? This is the vertebral column. In front of the vertebra, whatever fascia we have, you call it as prevertebral fascia. We have seen horizontal disposition. We have also seen the vertical disposition. So in case of horizontal disposition, I have shown you this picture, right? See this blue line I said, prevertebral fascia. This is our vertebra. And in front of the vertebra, whatever fascia is there, that is prevertebral fascia. It is actually enclosing the muscles of the back, right? Okay. So prevertebral is one of the lamina of deep cervical fascia that arises deep to sternocleidomastoid. It lies in front of the cervical vertebrae and muscles in front of it. Horizontally, it forms the floor of the posterior triangle, and finally it extends up to axilla. It continues as axillary sheath enclosing axillary vessels, okay, and nerves. Vertically, it extends from the skull base up to fourth thoracic vertebra. Okay, so this is the vertical disposition, which is seen right in front of the vertebrae. Okay, so that is extending from the base of the skull to the fourth thoracic vertebra. See, this is the base of the skull, and this is the fourth thoracic vertebra. It is extending till there. Then there is a space behind the pharynx, which is called as retropharyngeal space, which lies between the prevertebral layer and the buccopharyngeal fascia, this area. So prevertebral space lies between the prevertebral muscles and cervical part of the vertebral column. So different pictures have been shown, but the concept is same. Now, due to the extension of prevertebral fascia as axillary fascia, infections of vertebrae like caries spine, that is the tuberculosis of vertebrae, it may lead to infection, may spread to the axilla. It may cause abscess in the axilla. The pus may also point as an abscess in the region of posterior triangle. That means because of the continuity of this fascia, you are finding if there is any infection in the prevertebral region, that is causing infection in the posterior triangle, and its continuation as axillary sheath, infection is spreading into axilla. So prevertebral fascia forms posterior wall of retropharyngeal space. Now see here, submandibular space infection is here. This is the submandibular gland. So you call it as true Ludwig's angina. So starts unilateral and progresses bilaterally. This is D, Ludwig's angina. So in duration, that means there is like infection is seen in the submandibular region in the floor of the mouth, which causes severe degeneration of the floor area, like submandibular salivary gland, that is severe cellulitis. Tongue gets crusted posteriorly and superiorly, which may cause airway obstruction. So drooling may be there, odynophagia, bad smell in the mouth, trismus, which is lockjaw, fever may be there, and no purulence. Purulence means pus formation may not be there. Okay, that is. So retropharyngeal space infection, that means behind the pharynx also infections are possible. Behind the prevertebral space also infections are there. So generally in clinical symptoms we find in children are irritability, may develop, neck rigidity may develop, fever, drooling of salivary secretions from the mouth, the cry of the baby may be muffled, there may be airway compromise. In adults, fever, sore throat, odynophagia, neck tenderness, and dyspnea, difficulty in breathing. Okay, so behind the pharynx, if there is any infection, you call it as retropharyngeal abscess. Abscess means pus. Okay, so see here the continuity of this space with the mediastinum. So generally it can spread unimpeded to mediastinum. I told you infections from the pretracheal area also are spreading to mediastinum. From this retropharyngeal space, prevertebral layer also they spread to mediastinum. Carotid sheath. Around the great vessels of neck, we have a protective covering which is called carotid sheath. Okay, so which is situated deep to the sternocleidomastoid muscle in front of the neck. So carotid sheath is formed by components of all the three layers of deep cervical fascia. It contains medially the common carotid artery, laterally internal jugular vein. Medially common carotid, laterally internal jugular vein. In the middle we have vagus nerve. Anterior wall of carotid sheath is showing one nerve plexus. You please remember that is ansa cervicalis. Ansa cervicalis is seen in the anterior wall of carotid sheath. This is all carotid sheath. So anterior wall by the this carotid sheath is contributed by the anterior wall is contributed by pretracheal layer and posterior wall is contributed by prevertebral layer of deep cervical fascia. Contents, what do we find? Internal jugular vein, laterally, common carotid artery medially. Okay, a common carotid will be splitting as the artery moves up into internal carotid artery and external carotid artery. Between the internal jugular vein and common carotid artery, we see vagus nerve. Okay, anteriorly, the carotid sheath contains ansa cervicalis. Posteriorly, it contains sympathetic trunk. Okay. The pharyngeal fascia is separated into two layers which sandwich between the pharyngeal muscles. Between them, you will find buccopharyngeal fascia. Okay. So, coats the outside of the muscular part of the wall. Much thicker layer we have is pharyngobasilar fascia lining the inner surface. Temporalis muscle is covered by a fascia which is temporal fascia. Okay, so this is all about deep cervical fascia of the neck which can come as an essay question. So please study. Thank you.